ship themselves, those studies indicate that they did what they should have done and what were the conditions they had.
I said that we've interviewed some of those persons. We haven't interviewed all those persons, and we asked those questions. I didn't answer it then, and I won't answer it now. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Senator Rockefeller said during the hearing effectively that every coal mine accident was avoidable. I believe that's true.
I believe that's absolutely the case. Absolutely the case. Yes, sir.
Excuse me. How? Rock falls, things like that. How do you avoid everything? I didn't understand.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
Help me out.
Sure. If you look at the accidents, and we've studied this question because of the issue of inevitability, they claim that mine accidents are inevitable and mine conditions are such that you're going to have danger. We have been doing this for now 150 years in this country and probably 200 years around the world. And that we can, in fact, anticipate problems and we can, in fact, anticipate conditions. Roof falls, for example, are understandable and we can plan for and anticipate how we can prevent those roof falls from happening. And those conditions we met. We have enough knowledge now to prevent them. Is there a case, if you could put to me the question, is there a case, could there be a case where you could have an accident that was absolutely unavoidable and you wouldn't know? There's probably an exception that proves the rule, but as a rule, yes, we can. Yes, sir.
The day after the memorial service, Mass Energy television, there was a press conference, and one of the things that they said, and were public about, is that all indications, so right before this explosion, there was no indication at all that there was any problem inside that line. Do you have any reason at this point in your investigation to believe that those statements were incorrect?
And we've asked that question. We're aware of Massey's statement about that. We've asked that question. They're looking very hard at that issue. We're not complete on the analysis of that, but there's some indications that the conditions were, as Massey stated, there were no indications out, but we're not complete on that. So we'd prefer not to come to a final conclusion on that. Yes, sir.
The industry has been known, and government too, to find that there's not a large enough market for technology necessary to do certain things like that. How do you see getting around that? We have to have better monitoring conditions for saying that thing, things like this, to see what's going on in the line, because that's been a constant complaint for years.
I can tell you this, that other countries around the world that are very small, have very small industries, coal industries, are involving some of these techniques. And that includes Australia, Canada, South Africa, etc. I think the answer is that we need to look at mining as a sector around the world to try to incorporate. And as a shameless commercial here, I want to mention that on September 9th and 10th here in Charleston at the Civic Center, we are having Wheeling Jesuit University and others will be sponsoring the 4th International Symposium on Mine Safety and Health, and will involve technologies, and we've invited persons from around the world to come to speak at that time to raise that question. I think part of it is we don't have an emphasis on it, we don't put an emphasis on it in this country, and that needs to be done.
We're going to take some questions from our conference call. If anyone has any questions, feel free to hit star one and take a question.
Hi, Mr. McAteer.
Yes, sir.
Just make sure you can hear me. I don't know that you've two things, industry and many Republicans that waiting on the development of the investigation for moving forward with the majority of the mine bill. I'm wondering whether you think that is a good idea to do, or whether the mine bill, the mine safety bill out there right now addresses things that talk about the Senate problem.
Thank you for the question, Peter. I think that there are two parts to it. One is that there's a bill pending in Congress. As you know, there was a hearing yesterday in the House of Representatives. Chairman Miller conducted a hearing. Senator Rockefeller has a bill as well, and then there's a bill that is making its way through the Capitol here in Charleston. I think that there are some things that you can address right away, some shortcomings that can be addressed, and then in addition, you need to look at the outcome of the investigations. It's a tension that has existed for a number of years and decades, whether you act now to kind of prevent future problems or whether you kind of wait for the conclusion. I think you have to do some of both. I think you have to look at, do we know some things that are problematic, and how do we address them? And for example, Congressman Miller's bill and Senator Rockefeller's as well address, as well as the state, address the question of supervisory certification, i.e., should supervisors be certified? In our state, as well as all around the United States, certification goes to the foreman level and doesn't go to the level of the person in charge, so that the foreman has the responsibility under the statute, but doesn't have the authority, and that the person with the authority and the management power doesn't have any certification. That shortcoming needs to be addressed. We've known that for some period of time. Secondly, for example, the dust concentrations. We've increased the fineness of the dust that is created in the mining process, but we rely upon a 1929 standard for applying the rock dust and the amount of application of rock dust. We've had studies in the last 10 years that have suggested that should be improved, but we haven't made that improvement. So those improvements need to be made currently. We also need to keep the door open to bring improvements that are found as a result of the investigation.
Is there anywhere where the bills are jumping ahead?
I'm not prepared to talk about any of the details. I can talk about the topics of the bills. I think the bills raise the penalties. The bills raise the issue of whistleblower protections. The bills raise the issues of structural protections. I think those are issues that the Congress needs to debate and needs to look at, as well as the state of West Virginia needs to debate and look at. I've been trying to look at the more structural kind of solutions that we can kind of make here in West Virginia as well as in Washington to prevent this kind of accident from occurring.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Anybody else from the other ether world?
Your next question comes from Ronnie Bowen.
Hello, I was wondering how, from what you know on the explosion here so far, compares to the explosion at Sago.
The size here, Brian, is much bigger. The size is enormous. We're looking at a distance of covering 2.5 miles. The explosion at Sago covered a much smaller distance. Now, that in and of itself changes the complexity and changes the work of the investigative team. So it makes it harder, in point of fact, to get to understand it. Because in Sago you had a constricted area, a limited area that you could look at. Here you have a much larger area that you're examining.